Hello friends, I am Arpit and I am here with today's analysis. Today is 4th of January and we are going to deal with three very important topics which are in news. First is reset the growth priority. The growth here means economic growth. So recently Raghuram Rajan and Rohit Lamba in their book Breaking the Mold, Reimagining India's Economic Future have mentioned the situation of India's economy right now. India's economy, no doubt, is the fastest growing economy in the world, but India's economy is also suffering with a phenomenon known as jobless growth. This primarily is due to India's shift from the primary sector directly to the tertiary sector, whereas countries all across the world, including some Asian countries like China, Taiwan, or South Korea, they transformed from primary to secondary to tertiary. Secondary sector has the highest job generating potential. Tertiary sector has the highest value generating potential. India opted for value generation as compared to job generation. That is why growth happened, but it was a jobless growth. So this we will study. Second is direct benefits transfers versus universal basic income. Direct benefits transfers is being given to the eligible beneficiaries for various schemes, like presently PM Kisan is there, or I would say MG Narega also, the wages go in the bank accounts. But let's keep PM Kisan at one side, and there's a proposed scheme by Congress, that is Nyay, Nyuntayam Aay Yojana, minimum wages scheme type of it is, where they pledged to provide a minimum income of 72,000 rupees per annum to the bottom 5% of the households of the country, which are around 5 crore households. On the other hand is universal basic income. That is, universal means everyone, irrespective of their economic status, will be given this, support from the government. The poor section of the society will definitely get that support in the form of a helping hand. The richer section of the society, that income will be added in their overall income and they will be taxed increasingly. This increased tax will fund the UBI. So this is the concept, but yes, is UBI better or is direct benefits transfers better? That is the big question. UBI obviously is not better since it is not followed in many parts of the world, or in anywhere it is not followed. Next is cyber kidnapping. Cyber kidnapping, this is a new term which was in news because a boy from China had been kidnapped. The kidnappers, which were not physically present with the boy, were making the boy do those things like clicking his pictures, then morphing his pictures, sending the pictures to the parents, making the parents believe that the boy has truly been kidnapped. And the parents gave $80,000 as ransom also, but the boy was found unharmed and he has been recovered. Now, with the usage of technologies like AI, these incidences of cyber kidnapping are expected to be on the rise. So, we need to understand these things in such way. Now, the first topic, that is reset the growth priority. We might be seeing India's economy going to touch $5 trillion. We might be seeing India's economy become the third largest economy by 2027-28. We might be seeing India's economy as the fastest growing economy in the world right now. But yes, there are some loopholes which need to be addressed. These loopholes, highlighted by Mr. Raghuram Rajan and Rohit Lamba in their book named as Breaking the Mold, Reimagining India's Economic Future. And these loopholes in the present economic scenario of India is the jobless growth. Growth is there, but it is not able to generate that much jobs. Now, why this phenomenon is there, why this thing is there, we need to understand, through this chart. Now, primary sector, largely I would say agriculture sector and all, mining is also there. Secondary sector, manufacturing. Tertiary sector, services. This secondary sector has the highest job generating capacity. This particular sector. This tertiary sector has the highest value generating capacity. among all the three sectors. Now, if we see the growth story of various other countries, including the developed West, Industrial Revolution came there, 19th century, 20th century, all this happened during that time over there. They were earlier, an agrarian society before that industrial revolution. After that, they transformed to, industrial society. Industries dominated. And then after that, now they have transformed themselves to the service sector. Majority of the GDP comes from the service sector, as well as majority of the workforce is also employed in the service sector. This has been the growth story of various developed countries and some of the developing countries like China. China is not developed, but yes, China's trajectory has been this. China's initial focus was on the primary sector. More than, I would say, 60 to 70% of the population was engaged in agriculture. But when they did the reforms in 1976, actually they started doing the reforms in 1960s, late 1960s, but major reforms came in the year 1976. After those reforms, their main focus was on the secondary sector. They started developing industries, and their intense focus on industrial development actually made them earn the tag of factory of the world. Now, Raghuram Rajan and Mr. Lamba have highlighted this, but yes, they are not the first ones to highlight. Mr. S. Shankar, our Minister of External Affairs, in his book published or released last to last year, The India Way, also highlighted this. He said that the difference between India and China both started their journey almost together. 1947 we started, 1949 China started, and our economies were at the same level almost at that time. But now China's economy is the second biggest economy and we are the fifth largest economy right now. So the main difference came first, reforms in China happened 15 years prior to us. Reforms here in India happened in 1991 LPG. In China, 15 years prior to 1991, that is 1976, they happened. And second difference was China's increased focus on the secondary sector and our negligence on the secondary sector. Yes, our reforms basically led us to transform from an agrarian based economy to a service based economy. Majority of our GDP comes from here, but majority of our population or workforce is presently also employed over here. Secondary sector, 20% or less than 20% GDP comes, and this much workforce is employed in the secondary sector in India. This is India's story. India did not go from here to here. We largely neglected our secondary sector. And it was only in 2014 we emphasized on the importance of the secondary sector, and after that when we launched this Make in India program. Make in India promoted manufacturing in India. Various, I would say, clearances, hassles and all, they were streamlined. Ease of doing business was promoted. So this was the difference between India's growth story and, other developed countries and China's growth story. They followed this path, we followed this path. Now, since this tertiary sector's potential is value generation, that is why we see the growth coming. And that is why we call India as the fastest growing economy, because this sector is performing well. But due to absence of focus on secondary sector, job generation has always struggled. Because we did not go this way, we went this way, bypassing this. And that is why I say growth is there, but not generating jobs. Jobless growth. That is what we say. So that has to be understood. Now, what should India do now? This is the big question. First of all, we should know some statistics. India adds around 8 to 10 million, means 80 lakh to 1 crore individuals in the workforce every year. It is adding, and it is going to add for the next few years. Then out of these 8 to 10 million, around 2 to 2.5 are STEM graduates, means they are science, technology, engineering, mathematics graduates. they are also going to increase in the times to come. And we covered, a few days ago, this scenario in India, unemployment and unemployment among graduates. Probably last week we covered. So, if we are not able to find jobs for the graduates, that will be a big, big problem. Or if we are not able to find jobs for our overall workforce, that will be a problem. That has to be tackled. How will that be tackled? That is again a big question. See, it is very easy to say that, increase focus on the secondary sector. We have already done that. We've increased our focus on the secondary sector. But we should apply common sense, and we should also think in this way that whatever is our strength, we should not overlook our strengths, or we should not ignore our strengths. If we ignore our strength, that strength will convert into weakness. And our strength is tertiary sector. We've invested ample time after 1991 in our tertiary sector. So it should be a simultaneous approach now. Simultaneous focus on the tertiary sector and excess focus on the secondary sector. And try to link both of these sectors as much as we can. Then only we will be there by 2047. So let's see this. India adds 8 to 10 million new members to its workforce every year. The number of graduates and high school passed are also increasing in this slot every year. So India has to accommodate these young fellows by providing them jobs. Not only jobs. What kind of jobs we should know? We should think. Jobs which are suiting their caliber and skill set. Now, let's suppose if there's an engineering graduate, and if we are making that engineering graduate do data entry, will it be justified? No. Will we be able to reap the potential of our workforce? No. Employment will be there, but that will be kind of disguised employment, where the workforce is not working to its maximum potential. We don't want that situation as well. So we want that kind of job generation which is valuable, which is generating value, which is generating money, and which is scalable also. Means that kind of, I would say, sectors which are able to accommodate this much increasing workforce every year. Those sectors we should look into. That kind of jobs we want, and that number of jobs we want. This is how we need to think, and this is the direction in which we need to think. Now, steps taken for the secondary sector already by the government. There's a scheme named as Product Linked Incentive Scheme. This scheme, PLI, has been launched for 14 key sectors with an allocation of rupees 1.97 lakh crore. What is this product linked incentives? Basically, the manufacturing units or the manufacturers, they are simply told by the government, if you manufacture this much products, this much quantity of products, then only you will be eligible for incentives. Incentives like tax benefits, incentives like, rebate on, I would say, some costs or some administrative costs and all. So they will be saving money. But there's a condition that you need to produce this much quantity. And when they will be producing this much quantity, when there will be demand. When there will be demand, when there will be the quality of those products. So quality is also being targeted implicitly under product linked incentive schemes. But yes, if we objectively see the scheme, so if you do that much production, then only you will get the incentives. This is what the government has to say. Then next is FDI policy has been streamlined. Many sectors, FDI has increased up to 100% under automatic clearance route. If not 100, then 74%. But yes, FDI policies have been streamlined. Next is PM Gati Shakti and National Logistics Policy have been launched. PM Gati Shakti is a platform in which 16 ministries are there on a single platform to streamline the clearances and implementation of infrastructure projects. Infrastructure like road, railway, ports, or electricity generation, electricity distribution, or let's suppose optical fiber laying for spreading the internet coverage. All these are very essential components of I would say your economy and the secondary sector will only thrive if we have good infrastructure. If we don't have good infrastructure, the secondary sector will be struggling. Apart from this infrastructure, there's one another thing, that is logistics, which needs to be streamlined. Currently, the logistics cost in India is somewhere around 13 to 14%. The main aim of National Logistics Policy launched in 2022 is to reduce this, cost to single digits and make it somewhere around 8%. The developed countries have this logistics cost of 8%. We need to be at par with them. Because if these two elements are streamlined, that is infrastructure and logistics, then only we will be there. Initiatives like Make in India, Startup India launched, for promoting more and more manufacturing in the country and startups. What can be done further? Actually, this is production linked incentive scheme. It should be viewed as employment linked incentives. We should give incentives to those units which are generating more and more employment. That should be the motivating factor. Policy reforms like land and labor regulatory reforms need to be done. These are happening, but yes, there are certain gaps which need to be fulfilled. Address the skill deficit by raising investment in higher education. So, Skill India program all is there. The National Education Policy of 2020 also envisages 50% of gross enrollment ratio by 2035 in higher education institutes should be there. It should be achieved. So it is like this. Expedite infrastructure and logistics gaps. International agreements to become part of the global value chain should be pursued diligently. Like for example, we have partnered with Japan. Japan is ready to open a semiconductor manufacturing unit in India. If that opens, that unit will be supplying semiconductors not only to India but to the entire world, generating jobs over here since it will be part of the secondary sector. So this should be understood in this way. Now, direct benefits transfers versus universal basic income. There have been a lot of talk on freebies or revdi culture. Should it be there or should it not be there? Political parties across the spectrum, they all adopt disbursing freebies, to be very frank. The BJP government have launched PM Kisan in 2018. The Congress government proposed to launch Nyay scheme, that is Nyuntam Aay. Congress government, when it was in power, launched schemes like MG Narega or National Food Security Act. One and all, they are there for launching these kind of schemes. And the irony is that everyone is attacking each other also on launching these schemes. Are they necessary? I would say they are necessary. They are necessary in such a situation where India is. They are necessary due to certain external factors as well. Like for example, the cost of fertilizers and all were increasing after 2015-16, I would say. So the government thought it fit to compensate the farmers or to provide some assistance to the farmers in the form of cash transfers. That is nothing but PM Kisan. But we need to understand this, that direct benefits transfers, DBT, these transfers are given directly in the bank accounts now of these beneficiaries, of these eligible beneficiaries, I would say. Is this better or providing a universal basic income better? So we need to understand it in this way. So the debate has come into picture because schemes like PM Kisan, MG Narega and the proposed Nyay, Nyuntam Aay Yojana by the Congress are being discussed and debated. Would providing cash transfers to people would make them lazy or spur development? As the old saying is, if you give a man a fish, you feed them for a day. If you teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. This is a popular old saying. If you are giving freebies, you are only, fulfilling the man's desire. But if you are teaching the man how to earn a living, then, that person will survive for the entire day or for the entire life, sorry. This is what it means. But there are certain assumptions. What if that man, is hungry and can't learn fishing that day? We have ample population who is hungry and does not want to, learn fishing. So first, what we'll do? We'll feed them, we'll fill their tummies, and then we'll teach them. This is why, direct benefits transfers are adopted in India. And, universal basic income is not allowed. The three schemes under discussion, which are under DBT, that is direct benefits transfer. DBT is basically the transfers, like for example here, 6,000 rupees under PM Kisan will be transferred in 3 equal installments in the bank account. This is called as DBT, direct benefits transfer. Benefits are directly transferred to the beneficiaries. There are no middlemen as such, because with the advent of Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, digital public infrastructure being developed, Aadhaar linking with the bank accounts all happened. The JAM Trinity, JAM Trinity stands for Jan Dhan, Aadhaar and Mobile. So, direct benefit transfers have been successful in India so far. So PM Kisan cash transfers up to rupees 6,000 per annum to eligible farmers from procuring agri inputs like fertilizers, pesticides and all. MG Narega, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. This act was passed by the Congress government in 2005, which ensures employment for 100 days minimum in a calendar year to every rural household. So this is there. And daily wages will be provided for doing unskilled work. Nyay, it is proposed, it is not there. Congress in its 2019 manifesto proposed it, and now it is proposing it again. It aims to provide a minimum wage of rupees 72,000 per year to the poorest 20% households. Now, the big question is, are these schemes equivalent to universal basic income? Can we equate these schemes with universal basic income? Obviously, the answer is no. We cannot equate them with, universal basic income. Not equivalent to UBI. Why? We have 3 reasons for that. They are not accompanied by removal of all the existing subsidies, because, universal basic income is basically the phenomenon in which, basic income to every citizen is given, from the richest to the poorest, regardless of whether they work or not. But there's a flip side. The government also rolls back all types of subsidies if the government is giving universal basic income. So from that income, you do all the expenditure, you buy all the products at market price. The government is going to withdraw all other welfare support to you. The idea is simple. Just give everyone a minimum income amount. Everyone means everyone, the richest and the poorest. Cut down the bureaucratic costs involved in running scores of welfare programs, and simply tax everyone in such a manner to fund the UBI. Now what will happen in this scenario? Let's suppose this is the entire society. Lower class is here, upper class is here. Now these lower class people will definitely be benefited of UBI. UBI is given to one and all. These will be benefited because it will be an additional support to them. The middle and upper class, those people are paying the taxes, assuming it over here, and generally it happens. So what will happen? Their taxable income will increase. Means on that taxable income is that income on which you have to pay the taxes. That income will increase because UBI is coming to everyone. That will add in your income. And government will take additional taxes from you, and that additional taxes is going to fund the UBI. This is the simple logic in UBI. The truly needy people will get a minimum help, while anyone who doesn't actually need the UBI help will find it taxed away by the government. So it is like this. Now are schemes like PM Kisan and Nyay UBI? No, they are not equivalent to UBI. Why they are not equivalent to UBI? We have 3 reasons. First is they are not accompanied by removal of all the existing subsidies. They will remain and they are also there. Like PM Kisan is there. Then if PM Kisan is, If any farmer is eligible for getting PM Kisan, that farmer most of the times will be eligible for getting benefits under National Food Security Act, where that person is getting subsidized or now free of cost ration, wheat, rice, and coarse grains. That person is getting subsidized fertilizers, that Kisan. So other subsidies are existing, and this is an add-on. The amount is much smaller, like 6,000 rupees, than what can you consider to be minimum or basic income that everyone needs to live a decent life. When we talk about universal basic income, that amount will be very, very high, and this is just handful of amount, 6,000 rupees a year. Or Nyay, if I say 72,000 rupees in a year, 72,000 rupees roughly translates to, I would say, 6,000 rupees a month. So it is like this. And the third reason is that these schemes, PM Kisan and Nyay, they are not universal. They are not available to everyone. PM Kisan, there is a list of eligible beneficiaries. We covered it last week as well. The excluded categories. Then Nyay is only for the bottom 5% households in the country. Oh, sorry, bottom 20% households of the country. They are 5 crore households. So it is not universal. That is why we cannot equate these two schemes with UBI. Now, why has UBI, Universal Basic Income, not rolled out in India and elsewhere also? Now, the government of Switzerland did try it. But yes, the cost of UBI is very high. It is not affordable for the governments. This is what the governments think. In rich countries such as Switzerland, which considered it and refused to adopt UBI amount is quite a lot, even though the population may be small over there. In relatively poorer countries like India, if we say, population is too large. So again, if this population is too large, it will make it unaffordable. Then the other problem is reduction of existing subsidies. Will any government do that? Finish all of the subsidies and give UBI? Less likely. And raising of taxes to fund the UBI. If any government tries to take any of these two steps, then obviously politically that party or that, I would say, government will be at a huge loss, because this is what something the people will not like. So it is like this. That is why UBI is not adopted anywhere in the world and in India also. DBT is obviously a better, I would say, option. Now there are some economic arguments for providing DBT. Political arguments, so there, populist measures and all. But yes, there are some economic measures or economic arguments for providing DBT. Now, this old saying which we discussed, if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. If you teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. Now, if you clearly see this particular saying and only focus on this, so you will say, sir, DBT is also bad. Why give DBT, direct benefits transfers? Because we are giving the man, the fish directly, and we are feeding him just for the present. Why we are not teaching the man to earn a living for himself or herself, or why we are not teaching a man to do fishing? If we teach, then he will eat entire his life, he will do fishing entire his life, he will eat the fish entire his life. So this basically calls for not providing or not going for DBT also. Because in direct benefit transfers like PM Kisan and all, we are giving them away 6,000 rupees, or in Nyay we are giving them away 72,000 rupees. We are feeding them a fish kind of. But there is an assumption here in this particular saying. We have to examine that assumption. One thing is that what if the man is too hungry on the first day to learn anything? If the man is too hungry, the man will not be able to learn fishing. So what is better? Feed the man first and then teach him. Isn't it? That is why DBT. What if he's so weak and feeble that he needs to be fed for a few days before he can summon up enough strength to learn? What if the choice is not between feeding him a fish and teaching him to fish? Because in this scenario, there is no choice. Obviously, we will feed that man first. What if the choice is between feeding him a fish today and risking his life? Obviously, we will not be going for risking his life. We will be going for saving his life first, feeding him the fish first, and then teaching him. That is why we have multiple schemes simultaneously running. We have this National Food Security Act, which provides 5 kgs of free ration now, and that has been extended for the next 5 years. Apart from it, we have certain, I would say, other programs, like we have right to education, where we are providing free education up to from 6 to 14 years. We have, I would say, Skill India program, where we are teaching skills to the people. Simultaneously, we are doing it. Feeding them, teaching them. Feeding them, teaching them. And then there will come a time, hopefully 10 years or 15 years down the line, where the need to feed them will reduce. Or the number of people needed to be fed will reduce. They will start, becoming more and more productive. That is basically the logic behind this economic logic or economic argument for providing DBT. Benefits of giving the poor a fish. What would be the benefits of feeding them? Simply means that. First, it will fulfill the immediate needs of the poor. Immediate need is hunger. That will be fulfilled. The poor with this little support can think of taking minimal risk in his or her life. This risk taking can bring them out of poverty as well. They can focus more on meeting basic necessities like education, healthcare, and such like. And last point, very important, more money with the poor will mean more spending. This stimulates the local economy because local people sell more, earn more, and buy more from their neighbors, creating the rising spiral. Now let's suppose a village where people are getting free ration, National Food Security Act, 5 kg per person per month. People are also employed in MG Narega for 100 days, so they are earning wages. Apart from MG Narega, they do farming and all. Apart from that, they have some, I would say, let's suppose they're not having anything else. These are only the government support they're having. Now, slowly and gradually, with this support, what will people do? People will start accumulating little bit of wealth with them. Healthcare is free, education is free from the government. So when this wealth is accumulated, that person can think of taking a bit of risk. Let's suppose open a small shop in the village. People all around him in the village, they are also doing the same thing. They are also accumulating money. They will be spending that money also. So in this way, the shop will also start earning because people around in the village, they are increasing their spending power, and these minimal risk taking and all may bring them out of poverty with this little hand holding by the government or just by feeding them a fish initially. The problem is in India that this feeding a fish has been elongated too much. Since 1947, we are feeding a fish. This is a problem. And why this problem is there? One root cause about it is poor governance or poor service delivery. Now, I've repeated this statistic multiple times before, but yes, for every 100 rupees subsidy released by the government, less than 10 rupees reached the end beneficiary. Prior to DBT or prior to this Jan Dhan Aadhaar mobile coming into picture. But now, since they've come, benefits are reaching the poor are increasing their spending capacity, poor are filling their tummies, poor are ready to learn now or becoming ready to learn now. This is what is happening. Now, last question also we can address this, that there's this saying that if you give people or if you feed them fishes, you'll make them lazy. But yes, we need to understand this also, that a quiet revolution is taking place based on the realization that you cannot pull yourself up by your bootstraps if you have no boots. First you need to have boots, then only you will pull up yourself with bootstraps. And these boots are nothing but you can equate them with DBT. Giving boots to people with little money does not make them lazy, reluctant, or work. Rather, just the opposite happens. A small guaranteed income provides a foundation that enables people to transform their own lives. In the development jargon, This is called as the poverty trap. Many people are trapped in poverty because they have so little money that they cannot buy things they need, such as medicines or school books or food or fertilizer. They are in a hole with no way to climb out. And this support in the form of DBT or these boots, cash transfers, provide a ladder to them to climb out of this hole in which they are trapped. This hole is the hole of property. They will not become lazy. This is what, another viewpoint about this is. So it is like this. The government has to take care that, so much cash transfer should not be done that people become lazy. Then, government is lacking. And this is a very slippery slope because governments, all across the country or all across the globe, especially in democracies, consider these measures providing additional support as populist measures because they get votes in return. So government should be responsible over here, not taking such steps. And the last topic is cyber kidnapping. Now, a Chinese exchange student, which you can see, he was found in this tent in the rural region of Utah. He was cyber kidnapped. Now, what is cyber kidnapped? We need to understand this thing. Cyber kidnapping refers to a crime where kidnappers convince their victim. Now, in this case, this boy was the victim, to hide and then contact their loved ones for ransom. And in this case, the parents of this boy paid $80,000 as ransom to those people, to those cyber kidnappers. The victim is also made to send pictures that make it look like they are being held captive. These pictures are sent to the parents, or these pictures are sent to these people, and then they morph these pictures and then they send to the parents, showing them bound or gagged. These are then shared with the family. Both parties means the kidnapped human and the family members of the kidnapped, believe their loved ones will be harmed if they don't do as the kidnappers ask. The kidnappers, this is how they convince these people, their victim, to hide and then contact their loved ones. They create this fear. The fear psychosis is there. The kidnappers, though not physically present, monitor the victim online through video call platforms. This is kind of kidnappers are working from home, not physically present but doing the job. So it is like this. With the usage of technology such as AI, such crimes are expected to be on the rise in times to come. And this is why AI is called as a double-edged sword. So this needs to be understood, a new term which was there in news. So thought that this should be known to you. Now with this, we've ended today's session. It was largely, I would say, conceptual session today. Less of facts, more of concepts to be understood. But yes, very, very important concepts for mains. So this is it from my end for today. I will be meeting you tomorrow now with more such informative news pieces. Till then, you guys keep studying, keep reading, keep writing, and most importantly, keep revising. Namaste. Jai Hind.